This is 5-Minute Feng Shui Podcast, episode 182, The Lonely House, Using Feng Shui to Find Love. Welcome to the 5-Minute Feng Shui Podcast, where each week I talk about how to move energy and make money. You'll learn how to create a prosperous home and an abundant life using classical Chinese Feng Shui. I'm your host, Katie Weber, publisher of the Red Lotus Letter, Feng Shui Easing for Wealth. Each week, I'll cover Feng Shui topics that can help you improve your life, share inspiring stories, and always end with 3 easy-to-implement Feng Shui tips that you can put to work right away, and usually in about 5 minutes. Now let's get started on the 5 minutes that could change your life. Hello, my Feng Shui friend. It is Katie returning to you after, 6 weeks. I don't know. It's been a long time, right? We haven't spoken in, weeks, literally, because let's see, I think it was in May was my last podcast, and I decided to take the month off for June. But as it turns out, I ended up getting, a really nice sinus infection. I think I was talking to you about it the last time that I was on the podcast, and it just sidelined me. And then I went to Venice for my 60th birthday. That was so much fun and so lovely and relaxing, considering that we had been there right before the pandemic happened in 2019. It was quite a bit different because it was much less crowded. And that is a place that can get super crowded. And it was really nice in terms of the weather was beautiful. It wasn't too crowded. We did some beautiful things and I had a wonderful time. And all thanks to my lovely, lovely partner in life, Tim, who does all these wonderful things for me. And I'm truly blessed to have him. And now it's July, and here we are looking at, the summer reaching its midpoint, and where it gets really hot here on the Northern Hemisphere. We've been having something like 107. We had day before yesterday, 103 yesterday, just unbearable heat. But we'll get through it, and we always do. And it's one of those things that pulls me into the house. It becomes, I call it my summer winter. Here in Texas, it's our Texas winter. This is when we come indoors and don't venture out because it's just too darn hot, and it's actually unhealthy to be out. And when you're indoors all the time and you're shut up, whether that's for the winter or that's from the pandemic, or maybe that's because of the summer heat, whatever the case may be, when you're always indoors and you're by yourself a lot, becomes very lonely and isolating. In fact, that's one of the things that we're talking about today is loneliness and isolation and the lonely house, and how your house can actually keep you isolated and not feeling connected with others, and maybe even keeping you from having a partner in life. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's only the house that is something that you can look at as a source of problems with relationships or difficulties finding a connection, but it is one of the aspects that we have to look at, because there are things in our homes that could be sending us signals that are saying, hey, keep away. And this is where we want to put our feng shui eyes on and really look at our homes critically. And at ourselves too. So we're going to be talking about that today. But I'm happy to be here talking to you. I've missed you, and I thank you so much for your notes, your emails that I've received while I've been gone. Some people even checked and said, hey, are you okay? And, I tell you what, talk about feeling connected. To receive a wonderful email from someone, who lives half a world away from me. Like, I got a wonderful email from a woman in Australia who wanted to know if I was okay, because last time she'd heard I had been sick, and she thought, hey, maybe she's been away because she was sick. And I did leave the podcast without telling you that I was going to take this hiatus. It was just one of those things that the time was right. So I took it. So we're talking today about ways that you can improve your life and your home so that you can attract love, attract friendships, and maybe even if you're in a partnership, reduce that sort of isolated feeling, because you can still be in a relationship and feel isolated and lonely and not connected or disconnected. That's something that, I think we don't think about with couples, but you see it all the time, don't you? I know I do. You go to a restaurant, you're out to dinner, and you see that couple. They're both staring at their phone. They're looking at the ceiling. They're picking at their cuticles. They're looking at everywhere except in the other's eyes or talking to them. And that's a very sad thing whenever I see that. I think that that's one of the things that I love most about my relationship with Tim is that we talk. It's like good luck getting a word in edgewise. I remember Tim telling me that one of his greatest fears about when we got married was, what will we have to talk about? Are we going to run out of things to talk about? Well, I'm thinking as long as there's a world out there with news headlines, and crazy politicians and crazy people, we're going to always have something to talk about. There is no doubt about it. So let's dive on in and talk about feng shui and loneliness and connection and attracting someone and creating a home that's not a lonely home. So when we think about that, we know it comes to having someone in our life. That's one of the greatest joys, is just having someone that belongs to you and that you belong to. Having that partner in life and someone to lean on really can be one of the most fulfilling parts of living. I know it is for me. Singles will often say that they love having their friends and family, but they don't have a partner, a wife, a husband, a girlfriend, or a boyfriend. They say it's not the same as when you have someone in your life that you're committed to and who's committed to you. But I do feel like that really committed relationship it's very different. It really is when someone's really committed. So let's talk about what it would take to get a loving partner in your life, because I know if you're looking for one, you want one. So what could be standing in the way of your partnerships? Now, there's a lot of things, right, that can stop you or block you from having the love that you want in your life. And to be honest, your house could be a lonely home. So the energy in your home is a living thing. And if you go home day after day to the same place and you're single for a long time, it's your house that could also be holding you back. So am I suggesting that you have to move? No, I'm not. But I would suggest that you think about this. So for instance, I've got several long-term clients who have one thing in common, and it's that they've never moved, like as in ever. They've been in the same apartment, some of them, one of them for 40 years. I understand in New York City that, rents are controlled and you don't want to move out of your building because of rent control and that kind of stuff. You've got to sometimes see things from a fresh perspective. And if you've been in the same space and things haven't improved for you, or you're in the same kind of spaces, maybe you've moved a whole lot, and it's been the same kind of scenario. You're in different places all the time, but your life is staying the same. There could be other things that are going on in your home, like whether it's too much clutter, too many old things, stuff from old relationships. There's even stuff, mental and emotional clutter and baggage that you could be dragging from one apartment to another, or just stacking up in the place that you haven't left. So let's think about how important it is that if you've been in the same place for a very long time, you may not want to budge from your nest. You could be pulling your home around you like a giant blanket, and that becomes your partner in life. And that's not the same, is it? It's not. You don't want something that's not a person to be the replacement for a relationship. And we can do that sometimes with our homes. We can also do it with pets, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. So when we're talking about your home and being the same, you've seen yourself single in the same space for a long time. So, Isaac Newton, this is like back when men wore wigs. He said, a thing in motion stays in motion until acted upon by an outside force. Sometimes you have to be the outside force. You have to be the thing that interrupts what's been going on, which is stasis. You are staying in your home. It's the same place, same apartment, and you're not seeing your life change. So you've got to make a change. If you can't change apartments, or you can't change your home, you need to change your home or your apartment. Let's talk about that. And what I mean by that is maybe you need to take everything out and give it a good cleaning, do a huge declutter, act like you're going to move. Get the boxes, get the trash bags, donate clothes, get all this old stuff out as much as you can. And if you can replace some furniture, if you can redecorate, do that. It's so important that you make a change, especially if you've been in a place for a long time. It's vital because after a while, that energy, it just stays in the same lonely rut, right? Which is a grave that's open. A rut is just a grave that's open at both ends, and it's a lonely grave. And you want to have that company. So you've got to do something different. So if you simply cannot move from your apartment, and you've been single a long, long time, you've got to be thinking about what you can do to change your home or your apartment, because it's made you it's gotten you where you are, and you can't get somewhere else if you're in that same spot. So let's do that. Really suggesting. If you've got chronic singleness, another thing that you can be looking at is that whole emotional and mental clutter. And one of the things that I highly recommend is a group called Radical Forgiveness. And it is a fantastic group that helps you to release past hurts. So sometimes it's not always the house, it's all the emotional baggage that we're carrying around. It's the mental clutter that is gumming up the works. If you want to check this out, I know it's a feng shui place here. We're supposed to be talking about a podcast for feng shui. But, part of your feng shui is the way you go about life. So check it out. It's at radicalforgiveness.org. And they've got some free things and free like worksheets that you can work on. Check it out and see if maybe there's some old baggage internally that would be worth getting rid of while you're making some changes to your home and your life. Now that we've talked about your home, let's talk about other ways that your house could be keeping you lonely. And that could be mementos. That's right, all those old ticket stubs, the wedding album that you paid good money for. It was expensive. That photographer was difficult, even though you've got this $2,000, $3,000, however much you spent on your wedding album, and they are expensive. They are. Wedding albums and all the pictures are very expensive. If you're holding on to something like that, then it needs to go. It needs to go. It's one of those things that, we have to really look around and see what is paining us. Is there something that we've held on to? Maybe it's a piece of furniture. If you're always looking at a piece of furniture and go, yeah, that's where Dan sat. I remember Dan. Oh, he was such a pain in the ass. Whatever it is, whatever it is that you look at that it annoys you. So, for instance, in my Facebook group, there was someone who put up a post about some jewelry that her in-laws, who are now deceased, had held on to. And she said she doesn't like it. And it's painful for her, but should she keep it? And, obviously this is one of those things that, to me, if her husband doesn't care, then I'd say melt it. Sell it. Get you some good hard cash. I think there's There's a song by Bruce Springsteen, Hard Times or something. I can't remember. And he said she took that wedding band and sold it for some good cold cash. That's a great line, great song. The point is, if every time you look at something, you remember those awful people, or you remember that sad situation, or the difficult divorce, or whatever it is, then it doesn't belong in your house. It needs to go. You got to release it. And it's really important. Even if you have a picture that you've cut your old boyfriend out of, and I had a client like that, and I'm like, yeah, but you're looking at a cut picture. She goes, but I like that picture of me in Barbados or wherever it was. I don't remember. But I said, but yeah, that's a great picture of you. That's cut. It's cut. So that's not such a great picture then, is it? If you know, because that's where I cut Dan out of, or Bill or Bob or Susan or Deborah, whatever the name was, the person that you've cut out of the picture, it. So You've got to remove them from your home. Now let's talk about another painful thing that a lot of people have a very, very hard time getting rid of, and that is ashes, cremation ashes. And there's no special dispensation that I can give you. I don't think the Pope would give you any, or maybe he would. I don't know. Maybe he would. It's possible. But if you have ashes from pets or from loved ones, they've got to go. They've just got to go. That's still them, isn't it? You can't hold on to them. I really highly recommend that you take them out of your house because they can make your house yin, and that makes your life yin. And what that means is it becomes lonelier and lonelier. There's yin energy. When we start looking at loneliness and isolation, there's yin energy, especially if you're holding on to things that are a lot of cast-offs, things that you've bought from, thrift stores, junk sales, tag sales, bargain basement, especially when it comes to jewelry, especially jewelry. And I'll tell you why. Because metal is conductive. It conducts, we know, energy, right? That's how we get electricity in our homes. There's wiring that goes through the walls, and that it's because metal is the best conductor for electricity. And we are actually electric. That's right. We've got a spark in us. That's what keeps your heart beating, is an electrical spark. So when you have old jewelry, it's holding on to that old vibration. And old stones can hold on to vibrations. And if they were negative or there's negative memories around them, this is something that it's really a good idea to purge and to remove from your life and bring something in that's going to have good memories. Now let's move on to different rooms. So one of the rooms that is vital in relationships, think about it, think about this, especially if you're single, is the kitchen. And I know that there's a lot of couples who fight about cooking. She's like, I'm not going to cook, and he's like, well, I'm not going to cook, and so there's a tug of war about who's not cooking, and then the whole house isn't cooking, if you know what I mean. There's no cooking going on anywhere, and that's not a good thing. Cooking is a wonderful thing, and it keeps everybody harmonious because, well, who doesn't like a good meal, right? Cooking is sort of the internal fire of your home. It's the fire of warmth, and warmth is love. Warmth is the thing that keeps us together. When we have warm feelings with one another, we stick together, right? And when we have a cold kitchen, it all falls apart. A lonely home is often a sign of a kitchen that's gone cold. And, it's like at every holiday, everyone's in the kitchen. Even if you try to shoo them out, there they come right back. It's because everybody likes to be in the kitchen. There's stuff that they can pick on and eat while they're there. And if you are only eating microwave dinners and things that, go into the microwave and never the oven, then you're not fueling that warm hearth kind of energy of your home. It's cold. It's yin. So by using the kitchen, you are keeping your home in a yang state. And we always want our homes to be a little bit more on the yang side. Some people would say harmonious. We want to have it balanced. Yes, but it's better to have it a little bit more yang. And one of the easiest ways you can do that is by turning the stove on and using it. And use different burners too. Use the oven. Hey, even if you go into the office, maybe you're single and you don't want to fix a 4-pound roast. You don't have to. You can just bake up a bunch of cookies or muffins and bring them in. And who doesn't love things to eat at work? People will eat things at work they wouldn't eat anywhere else. Remember that the kitchen is associated with the stomach, and this is the love organ in feng shui. Yes, despite what men would tell you. And everyone loves to be fed. You know that. So keep your kitchen heated up. Use your stove to help jumpstart a cold love life. You can even add a small night light to help keep those home fires burning at night too. And I really would suggest you do that, especially if you're not using your kitchen very much. Do what you can to start cooking and cook for yourself. You're worth it. You're absolutely worth the fresh food, no doubt. All right, so let's talk about the single. Now, whether this is a picture, a painting, or an object, when we see a lot of single items, we see the oneness, and that oneness overtakes our life. So you always want to make sure that your bed has 2 side tables, that your artwork doesn't just depict a single person in the picture. Make sure to have plenty of pairs around the house. Not only does it help your home feel more balanced, but it adds that sort of couple energy to the house. Look for things that are not matching. So for instance, sets, or maybe you pull out the cutlery drawer and you've got, a bunch of, one-offs. Like, I know it's really kind of shishi poo poo these days to have a mismatched sterling or silver flatware and that kind of thing. But, I'm not so crazy about that. I want to make sure that you don't have like too many odd things. It's really important that you look for those sore thumb items, that you open the drawer and you have that one weird fork. You know what I'm talking about? That one strange fork. Take it out. Get that one thing, because that is where your eye goes. Always, whenever you open the cutlery drawer, you look at that one weird thing that's out of place, and it keeps that your focus on the oneness and the single, and you don't want to do that. All right, let's talk about one of the things that is a replacement for people, and their pets. A lonely home can often have energy that's centered around your fur baby. And while that's really terrific, you want to make sure that your pet doesn't sleep on your bed with you, and that they always sleep in their own bed. Otherwise, when a pet sleeps in your bed, that pet's energies can take precedence over human relationships or even replace them. And it's not a good idea. Even though it's tempting to snuggle with your favorite fluffy, it's just better to do that on the sofa than in bed. You never want to have your pets on bed, because they become sort of surrogate people. It's sort of like that apartment that you've been in for 25 plus years. Once you've been in it long enough, you and the apartment are a couple. It's sort of like that. And you don't want to have a pet sleeping in your bed. You always want to have a person, right? It's the person is what you're looking for. And you don't want that energy there. You don't want that pet. And I love pets, don't get me wrong. That's just not something that, I would be doing if I were a single person. And I've seen it so many times where singles many times will have a pet, and that pet becomes the surrogate relationship. So just think about that. Let's talk about another P word, plantasia. No, it's not just a Disney film. It is an overabundance of plants. When you're looking for a relationship, we want to have a good balance of plants, never in the bedroom, and we don't want to have too many, especially if we have them in earth locations. It's better to have plants in the plant locations, which is the east, very important. And it's also important that you look around and see, is there too much plant energy? Look around your house. Do you have a lot of plants taking over one corner of the house or one corner of a room? Always have those living things balanced out. So, we want to make sure that you don't, not the cat lady with 4 cats. I love cats too, and I'm not trying to be, an anti-pet person, because I'm not at all. It's just that, we want to balance it out. Absolutely. So, and that's the same thing with plants. We want to balance it out. So let's talk about balancing, especially in the bedroom. One of the things that can be problematic for relationships is having a plant or flower themes in your bedroom. So we really want to avoid that. Plants can pull away the energy from earth, and that's the element that is related to relationships and to people. And I'm not just talking about love relationships, it's people in general, all relationships. And it can cause you to not connect with people. So look at your sheets. Are they flowery? Do you have flowery wallpaper? I know that those big, enormous flower wallpaper murals are like super trendy now, but it's an absolute relationship killer. Avoid that. Now, if you do want to add something in there to kind of perk up your love life, you can use peach paint. And this is for people that are really chronically single and are, very interested in finding a relationship. I would suggest painting your bedroom peach, but just make sure this is a sexual color in feng shui, and it can draw people that are just interested in that one little thing and nothing else. And that's something that I find singles have probably had enough of. They don't want to have those shallow, one-off kind of relationships. They're really looking for somebody to hold and to have for a long, long time, a partnership. And that's what makes life wonderful. So let's talk about, while we're in the bedroom, about some important rules around beds. And that's one is that you should always be able to see the door from your bed. So when you're in bed, you can see whoever's coming in the door easily. And that means that your bed is in the command position, that you have it on a nice solid wall. You can easily see whoever's coming into the door, and that you have a good solid headboard. A lot of times people with problems with money or relationships may not have a good solid headboard, and it's essential to have one. And on top of the importance that it is for having a headboard and feeling in command of your life and feeling like you're in control, is to help you think clearly, and that feeling of support. Because that's one of the things that comes with a relationship, right? You feel supported by one another, having whether that's a relationship with friends or with that special someone or a lifetime partner. This is really a key ingredient. So when you're aching to have somebody in your life, remember that your bed represents the symbol of a couple's union. So that's why it's so important to get it right. If you can't or you don't want to give up your mattress and it's from a past relationship, try to get it out in the sunlight if you can, if possible. Or you can put some water out in sunlight and then just spray. Maybe you have some lavender oil or lemon. I like lemon and lavender with sunlight water. Keep some water out in the sun all day, and then you can make your own sun water and put some lemon or lavender essential oils in it and spray the mattress. I really can't say how important it is to get a new mattress if you can do it, because it really will hold some of those old energies, and you just don't want that. Having a new mattress will help you refresh your outlook, refresh and kind of clear the slate, the emotional slate. And you also want to look for headboards that don't have any past connection with your prior relationships, and make sure that you don't have any kind of slats or metal headboards. It's better just to have a nice solid wood or upholstered headboard. That's perfectly fine. You also want to remove any kind of old furniture from a past partner, and ensure that, if you have any old relationship things, get those out of the house, especially if they're bedroom items, because that is where we cry, that's where we make love, that's where we have our most intimate moments with a partner. And if you've had those intimate moments and you've got furniture from that past relationship, it's a good time to give it away, donate it, sell it, buy something else, replace it. Always a good idea. Okay, then. Well, we've talked about loneliness, and we've talked about the importance of finding ways to improve our home, to invite energy for another person to come into our life. And I really hope that if you are in a relationship, maybe you've got a lot of those single items that I was talking about. Maybe you've got a relationship and you find that you two are not as connected as possible. You can use some of these same points, whether that's forgiveness, getting rid of that emotional or mental baggage you've been carrying around, finding that forgiveness to release it once and for all. Maybe old clutter, old painful items that you have, even in your relationship. Maybe you went through a bad time. You've got some old things that you recall from that difficult time in your relationship, and you need to release them. These are all ways that you can create that bond again with your sweetheart, with your partner. Look in the house. Do you have a one weird wine glass? I do. I actually need to buy a new set of everyday wine glasses. We've got a collection of weird singles now, and they need to go, because that's something that Tim and I like to do, is have a glass of wine at night, and I like matching glasses. It's so important. And there's something that I'm going to be doing. That's one example from my own life. Look around for those weird single items and get rid of them, because you want to have things that show unity in your relationship and in your possession, so that it comes across. Use the kitchen. So let me go to my 3 tips to leave you. One is tip number 1: clear out the clutter. Get rid of old items and get rid of too much stuff. Remember, if you've got too much stuff in your house, there's no room for anybody else. Remember that. Think about that. Is there room for another person in your life? You want to always have room for someone else, and to have room to bring in a relationship. And you've got too much stuff, It's time to get it cleared out. If you got old mental and emotional baggage, clear that out too. I've given you a resource, radicalforgiveness.org, as a way to help you get rid of that. Talk to a therapist, whatever would help you the most. Number 2, remove the pain. Whatever pain there is, if it's an old wedding album, old jewelry, things that you have that relate to a painful time, even ashes. Go spread your pet's ashes, bury them in the yard. Go have a ceremony for your loved one. If you have ashes, have a ceremony and release them once and for all. You do not have to carry their death with you any longer. We think we're carrying their life. That's their death. When they're cremated, that is their death. I don't want you to carry anyone, a pet or a loved one's death with you any longer. Give them a proper place to rest so that you can go on and live your life. Tip number 3, warm up the kitchen. Always keep that kitchen cooking. Find something to do, whether that's making cookies for your neighbor, bringing some muffins for your coworkers. Maybe you cook a couple times a week and you heat up the leftovers. Even if you do that, it's so much better than just a microwave dinner night after night. You can only microwave and eat out of so much plastic, right? It gets tiring. Make yourself a proper meal. Make your sweetheart a proper meal. And a meal is a wonderful way to fill the stomach, which is, remember, the love organ in Feng Shui. All right, everybody, have a fantastic, wonderful week, and I will talk to you on the next episode of 5 Minute Feng Shui. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of 5 Minute Feng Shui. If you did, please be sure to share this episode with your friends on social media, and let's change the world one home at a time. For more Feng Shui information and inspiration, sign up for my free weekly Feng Shui Easy. Just drop by redlotusletter.com to sign up, and I'll be in your inbox every Wednesday. And if you like this episode, I'd love it if you left a review on iTunes. If you do, send me the screenshot of your review to katie@redlotusletter.com with iTunes review in the subject line, and I'll send you a free gift as my thank you. I'll see you next week on the next episode of 5 Minute Feng Shui.